Is this thing on? Welcome back to Movies TV Man. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man. And welcome to Wednesday's all-new DCEU Daily. We have some breaking news, first of all, on today's DCEU Daily. And it's about Dylan O'Brien and those rumours of him playing Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, in the DCEU and being introduced in the Batgirl movie. Dylan O'Brien responds to DC movie Nightwing casting rumours. Dylan O'Brien responds to the DC movie rumours and speculation about him being cast as the popular superhero Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, by Andy, whose surname I can't pronounce. Dylan O'Brien responds to the rumours about him being cast as Dick Grayson in a potential DC movie version of Nightwing. The DCEU is not stopping anytime soon, as the franchise is continuing to build out its universe, adding more heroes and villains from the comics with upcoming DC movies like Black Adam, The Flash, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and more. Warner Bros. DC Cinematic Universe is also expanding onto streaming services HBO Max, with new releases like Peacemaker and Batgirl. Even though many iconic characters have jumped from panel to screen, there are still multiple players fans are hoping to see join the DCEU. As many DC movies have come and gone, there have also been projects that started being developed before eventually getting quietly shelved. One of them was a Nightwing movie that was being worked on by director Chris McKay back in February 2017. While a script had been written, updates eventually stopped coming out, as McKay revealed that the project had been put on hold as Warner Bros. And DC were looking at other priorities. Despite no movement on the feature film, it hasn't stopped rumours from circulating, including O'Brien being up for the Nightwing part in the DCEU. Fans see originally putting this really talented creatives, Chris McKay's idea to do a Nightwing movie. He would make a great Nightwing movie. How can you shelve these things? How can you shelve Superman after Justice League? Ridiculous. For the time being, it has remained unclear if Nightwing is even on his way to the DCEU and who would play him. Now O'Brien has come out with an interesting response to those reports that may disappoint some fans. Yeah, one of my subscribers, Ronnie Dodge, won't be happy about this. Reported by Post-Cred Pod, the Maze Runner star clarified that he has never heard anything official in terms of the superhero role. However, O'Brien did at some point discover that rumours were circulating about him being cast as Nightwing, going as far as checking with his manager if there was any truth to it. He said of the fan casting and rumours, "I'm aware of it, I've seen a lot of it, I've not heard anything about it on the professional side, but it's cool that it made its way to me, to the point where I asked my manager, is this even actually a thing?" Wow. While his response may be disappointing, but for those who wanted to see O'Brien play Nightwing, it's clear the actor has taken notice and appreciate those discussions online. Even though Warner Bros. Has not given any indication Nightwing coming to the big screen anytime soon, the character does currently exist in the live-action medium since 2018. Brenton Thwaites has been portraying the former Boy Wonder, who has gone on to become Nightwing on Titans. Since Nightwing will continue to be part of Titans Season 4, there is at least a live-action destination for eager fans of the character. When it comes to bringing Nightwing into the DC movies, the studio can go in multiple directions in terms of how to introduce the original Robin. Either they proceed with McKay's Nightwing film, or Dick perhaps makes his DCEU debut in any of the upcoming films. One possibility is HBO Max's Batgirl franchise. Now, this has been the other rumour about him being in Batgirl. Not necessarily played by Dylan, but we know that Dick Grayson's going to be in Batgirl because there's a mural of Keaton's Batman and a Robin dressed up in the Robin attire. So there's definitely a Robin in the DCEU after Flashpoint. So someone's going to be playing that role. Where are we? I've lost my place now. Directions in terms of how to introduce the original Robin. Either they proceed with McKay's Nightwing film, or Dick perhaps makes his DCEU debut in any of the upcoming films. One possibility is HBO Max's Batgirl franchise with sequels that could perhaps serve as Dick's introduction, given that he and Barbara Gordon have been partners and romantically involved in the comics thanks to some set photos that made their way online. Batgirl is establishing that Robin does or did exist in one way or another, whether it be O'Brien or someone else in the role. The DCEU will ideally introduce Nightwing at some point in the near future. So basically, we know Dick Grayson, as I said, is going to be in Batgirl, or at least an Easter egg for him is in that movie. Now, let's go back to Dylan's comments, because it's best to analyse these things from someone who's been in Hollywood and understands PR and how these things work. I'm aware of it. I've seen a lot of it. I've not heard anything about it on the professional side, but it's cool that it made its way to me, to the point where I asked my manager, is this even an actual thing? Now, the bottom part is very interesting, because has the manager said it's not a thing? Has the manager said it is a thing? We don't know what the manager said to him. So this is the very interesting thing about it. For those people like Ronnie Dodge, who really want Dylan O'Brien to play Dick Grayson Nightwing in the Nightwing movie, and maybe be slowly introduced via the Batgirl movie into the DCEU, don't lose hope quite yet. And this is an interesting denial. Either he's telling the truth or he's lying because the studio have told him to. The Batman's shorter runtime didn't test as well as theatrical cut. Warner Brothers head Toby Emmerich reveals the Batman's shorter runtime didn't test as well with audiences as the longer theatrical cut, by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. Warner Brothers head Toby Emmerich reveals the Batman's shorter runtime didn't test as well with the audiences as longer theatrical cut. Matt Reeves is at the helm for the reboot of the DC Comics film franchise, with an ensemble cast led by Robert Pattinson in the titular role, alongside Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, Catwoman, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon, John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, and Andy Serkis as Alfred Pennyworth. The Batman is largely inspired by the Long Halloween, Dark Victory Year 1 and Zero Year. Just over a month ahead of the film's release, discussion around the Batman became divided over its reported runtime, which was revealed to be clocking in just shy of 3 hours in the length. Given the extended runtime of most of the DC Extended Universe films, some felt this may turn audiences away from sitting down in a theatre for the latest adaptation of The Dark Knight. These concerns would ultimately be proven unwarranted, as the Batman debuted to rave reviews from critics and audiences alike, and a strong box office start this past weekend. Of course, we'll see if the 3 hours has been a problem or not when we get to the second weekend. That's the pivotal weekend, and that will be proof either way. As the film soared to box office success, Tony Emmerich caught up with Deadline to discuss the Batman. The studio head revealed a shorter runtime was tested with audiences for the superhero epic, but it didn't test nearly as well as the theatrical cut of the film, Emmerich added. The last time I went to a premiere in Alice Tully Hall was 7 and on Tuesday night. Batman reminded me of that. The audience was rapt. The decision for the Batman to keep its extended runtime was a divisive one ahead of the film's release, namely after last year's release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which clocked in at just over 4 hours. Though it was better received than its theatrical counterpart, a product of studio and Joss Whedon intervention, it still received much criticism for its overlong runtime. Well, I don't know, Grant Hermans, where you saw this criticism, because most people didn't have a problem with the 4 hour runtime. Some people, look, there's always going to be dissenting voices in the world that we live in, and that's okay. But most people didn't mind the Snyder Cut being 4 hours long, and led many to worry the same was set to happen with Reeves' superhero epic. Given the Batman was being set up to launch a new shared universe separate from the DCEU, many were concerned these plans would find themselves scrapped, as with many previous DC franchises. Thankfully, as Emmerich observed long before the film hit theatres, the Batman's shorter runtime would prove a worse idea than of its 3 hour theatrical cut, with test audiences finding themselves more engrossed by the fuller version. Within 4 days of hitting theatres, Reed's film has already grossed over $258 million against its reported $200 million budget, the highest for any DC film since 2016's The Suicide Squad, further bolstering its chances for a planned trilogy and multiple HBO Max spin-offs. Audiences can catch up with the Batman in theatres now. So I did hear this rumour that they were testing a shorter cut than the 3 hours. Now, I never saw the shorter cut, but what was being brought back to me was it was a bit like BVS. And we'll talk about this in my next video because I want to do an extensive examination on the DC Extended Universe, on its positives and its negatives and its failures. But let's focus on this. BVS was cut down to 2.5 hours. The film, in some elements, just didn't make sense. And I'll talk about this more. It was the studio's fault that the reaction, in a lot of ways, was divisive for BVS because they interfered and they cut it down. This was a big test of Emmerich and Warner Brothers to see if they learned their lesson from the Snyderverse. And this proves that they have. Are there any Titans fans in the house? Titans Season 4 episode count revealed. The episode count for Titans Season 4 filming, for which is currently underway, is different from previous seasons of the HBO Max DC TV series by Andy, whose surname I can't pronounce, or Screen Rant. As Titans Season 4 has gone into production in Toronto, Canada, the HBO Max drama's episode count has been revealed. One of the streaming service's popular DC shows is getting closer to finally returning after a massive Titans Season 3 finale, with the cast and crew reuniting to start work on Season 4. While no official premiere date has been set, Titans Season 4 should release sometime during the late summer or fall, similar to last year. While plot details have been mostly kept under wraps, Titans Season 4 will see the heroes have their hands full. One of the new villains coming in is straight from the Teen Titans mythology, with Joseph Morgan cast as Brother Blood, a main baddie for the DC team. Franca Potenti will also be emerging as May Bennett, aka Mother Mayhem, who will join Brother Blood as a new series regular. Additionally, Lisa Ablavana will recur as Jinx of the Fearsome Five, a team the HBO Max series has slowly been setting up, with other members showing up in past seasons. While not confirmed, Titans Season 4 will reportedly introduce Lex Luthor in an unspecified capacity. Now, this is very interesting. Who are they going to cast as Lex? This would be a fine opportunity to bring in Michael Rosenbaum. He could be this world's version. He just looks like the Smallville version, right? Easy. Why this guy hasn't been playing Lex Luthor in the extended universes, in kind of whatever multiverse they want to? You know, there's no better Lex Luthor, and we all know that. And I think he's interested in doing it if it's right. That's why he didn't do Crisis on Infinite say that again. That's why he didn't do Crisis on Infinite Earths, because it wasn't right. They didn't tell him how much he was going to get, what he'd have to be, what the story was. So he said no, and quite rightly so. As filming is underway in Toronto, Canada, another change has been revealed for Titans Season 4. When Titans director cinematographer Boris Mojiszewski celebrated the start of production on his Instagram page, he was asked how many episodes the next season would have. Rather than having 13 episodes like the past 2 seasons, Mojiszewski confirms that Season 4 will now instead consist of 12 installments. No specific reason has been given as to why Titans Season 4 is 1 episode shorter, but it wouldn't be the first time the show did less than 13 episodes. Back in Titans Season 1, when it was airing on DC Universe, they only had the 12-episode order. However, Episode 12, which was the show's original season finale, was removed, which is why the season ended on a cliffhanger in Episode 11. While the original Titans Season 1 finale will never be seen, it was significantly different from the closer that fans got in 2018. Wow! The closer that fans got in 2018. I didn't actually know that. Despite the mysterious change, it's not unheard of to do less than 13 episodes, especially for shows on streaming platforms. To use another DC TV show as an example, Doom Patrol Seasons 2 and 3 ran for 9 and 10 episodes, respectively. But airing on HBO Max, they have the capability of doing episodes that are longer than 42 minutes, which is what broadcast television has to go with to make room for commercials. Having 12 episodes could also imply a slight change to the show's budget, but that remains to be seen, and more details will hopefully emerge as Titans Season 4 continues shooting. Titans is a very, very interesting show. Some people can't get enough of it, and I know that's fact, but some people complain about its comic book accuracy, what they do here, what they do there. I think it's a very well executed show, and it having one less episode is irrelevant to me, and it really should be irrelevant to you. It's not a big deal, and you may get longer running episodes than usual to make up for that. Why Bruce Wayne alter ego isn't fully established in the Batman. The Bruce Wayne that's in the Batman doesn't have his usual partying public alter ego, and Robert Pattinson says there's a reason for this, by Rachel Labonte of Screen Rant. Look, I'm going to explain this to you as well, because this may not be a thing we see in the other movies either, and I think people that this is an evolving franchise and things will get to the way we know them, but this may be a thing we won't ever get. Personally, I'm okay with that. Robert Pattinson explains why it makes more sense for his Bruce Wayne to not have his typical alter ego in the Batman. Over the weekend, the Batman family finally arrived after years of breathless anticipation. The gritty DC peak, directed by Matt Reeves, appends the well-known archetype of Batman, offers a darker take on the tortured hero. Audience so far seem to be responding well to it, as the Batman earned the second highest opening weekend since 2019 after grossing $134 million over 3 days. That comes after scoring some of the best reviews for a Batman movie yet. In the Batman, Pattinson's Bruce is only in his second year of fighting crime as Gotham City's vigilante. Even in that short time, though, he's built quite a reputation, and a major theme throughout the film is whether he's truly making a positive impact on a dysfunctional city. The Batman doesn't focus much on Bruce on his own, and it largely does away with the idea that he acts like a playboy in public to hide his true nightmare activities. Instead, Bruce is more frequently suited up as he puts all his focus on the mystery presented by the Riddler, Paul Dano. According to Pattinson, that is intentional. In a recent roundtable discussion with EW and his fellow Batman stars, the actor explained why the movie avoided Bruce's playboy persona. Most iterations of the character have indulged in that, but Pattinson feels that it actually makes more sense for Bruce to not be a playboy, he explained. When you think about Bruce Wayne, you kind of think he's a playboy, and then that's how he disguises himself. So no one knows he's Batman. As soon as you take that away, it made the character almost make more sense. There's something about a person who would be able to delineate 3 incredibly distinct personalities and then just being able to switch them as an outfit at will. That's really way more sociopathic. That's a great point, Rob, than someone who doesn't really have much more control over it and is compelled to put this suit on. It's kind of out of his control a little bit. And this response is why I think we may never see the playboy. As I say, many Bat stands may have a problem with this. I don't. Pattinson also added that in many ways Bruce is still a lost 10-year-old boy grieving his late parents who feels he's weak inside. That paves the way for him to take on this far more formidable alter ego and exact his form of vengeance. The Batman has offered perhaps the most radical take on a well-known character yet, but it also fits incredibly well with the comics. This is a Bruce Wayne consumed with his fight and still very much impacted by his parents' death. If he could easily shrug all that off to get some drinks with beautiful women amid the Gotham nightlife, that would say major things about his mental state. That's true. He's either so battered, as we can see in this film, emotionally. So if he can pretend to be Bruce Wayne, I think people would see through that and would call that a plot hole. That's a very good point. Though some fans initially rejected Pattinson's casting, the former Twilight actor has proven time and time again he's perfectly suited to play the Dark Knight. Pattinson has demonstrated a compelling insight into Bruce's psyche, and his willingness to play up the character's weird side fits in well with the version of him that Batman wishes to portray. Those like Christian Bale and Michael Keaton might have made Batman incredibly cool and slick, but Pattinson went the darker route, and that's why the Batman has been such a breath of fresh air. A great article there by Rachel Labinotti, and some great things we need to unpackage by Robert Pattinson. Now, he makes some great points. What kind of a person who we can blatantly see through the performance and the writing is so battered emotionally, he hasn't got over what he saw. You wouldn't get over that, seeing your parents shot, would you? It just wouldn't happen. This is the kind of answer to people who say he doesn't smile, he doesn't joke. You know, obviously, if you saw your parents get shot, we don't know what that's like. But imagine that. It's like seeing your parents killed in a war. That's what it must be in the Ukraine right now, right? And so there's another reason I believe they didn't make him a playboy. Of course, he could evolve into that later on, because Matt is very faithful to the source material. But I think this is about toxic masculinity as well, because I think that that's the attitude that Matt has. Now, I believe Matt wouldn't make him a playboy because the element of representing him as a toxic male who's a womanizer. But we must remember this as well. Bruce Wayne is pretending to be a playboy, you know, in the other films, in some comic book iterations. He's not actually a playboy, but it still shows him, I suppose, in a negative light. And I can understand why they don't want to do it. And I'll say it again, it really isn't a big deal. Any Arrowverse fans in the house? Because there's big news coming from the CW. Only 2 Arrowverse show renewals set at the CW so far. A recent report has confirmed that only The Flash and Superman and Lois have received confirmed orders for future seasons, leaving others in the air. This will be very worrying for Legends of Tomorrow fans and the 1 or 2 Batwoman fans. By Ethan Fox of Screen Rant. A new report seemingly confirms that only 2 Arrowverse shows had received concrete renewals for the future seasons, those being The Flash and Superman and Lois. Ever since the premiere of Arrow in 2012, the Arrowverse has been the reigning shared live-action universe of DC for several years, attempting to liken itself to the world-building scene in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. That's true. However, in recent years, the shared universe of shows has seemingly begun coming to an end with the cancellation of some major players. There's no coincidence here, since we've been going over to HBO Max and DC Universe is gone. I think DC TV is going in a new, very ambitious direction. Shortly after the immense success of Arrow, the network began developing other shows based on characters from the DC property, later having Barry Allen guest star on the series before obtaining his own spin-off, The Flash, in 2014. 2 years later, after initially having her first seasons air on CBS, Supergirl was moved to the CW and was officially made a member of the main Arrowverse trio. Following these instances, the universe continued to grow, with DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Batwoman, and Superman and Lois and Stargirl all being added to the mix. In a recent report from THR, the Hollywood Reporter, a list of outgoing and renewed CW shows were revealed, and they did not make the Arrowverse's future seem too bright. It was confirmed within the list that both The Flash and Superman and Lois are the only Arrowverse shows to have been officially renewed. Other titles such as Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow are still on the bubble for renewal, while Stargirl is confirmed for season 3 but is still awaiting word on a 4th season. I think Stargirl fans shouldn't have to worry. This is a very good show, but ratings-wise, I'm not sure, so we'll have to wait and see. As previously mentioned, the golden age of the Arrowverse undeniably came to a close with the conclusion of its own founding series Arrow, with several other shows set within the continuity following suit. Black Lightning was cut short following its 4 seasons on air. Let me just say something. Black Lightning is an amazing character in DC Comics, and it was an amazing show. I really enjoyed that show. And that was the last show that should have been axed. I don't know if they're planning something movie-wise, and that's why they took it down. There may be other plans, it may be ratings, but I'd be very shocked if people weren't watching Black Lightning, one of the best Arrowverse shows. Concluding in May 2021, and Supergirl, one of the main trio, had her own show cancelled after 6 seasons, leaving The Flash the only original series left. Even at that, past reports have seemingly stated that the Scarlet Speedster series may also be facing an end after 9 seasons. Yeah, now what may happen here And I think there's another article from Screen Rant, we can cover that in. They may say it's the 9th and final season. I think they may be trying to get to 10 seasons. But also, I think Grant Gustin's The Flash has a big future in the DCEU. So that might be something else. I wouldn't worry about it altogether. With so few of the Arrowverse's vast shows confirmed to return for new seasons, the overall future of the shared universe could possibly hang in the balance as we speak. However, whilst these older shows are seeming to suddenly die off on the network, the CW has also struck gold with Superman and Lois, an undeniable fan favourite. We'll get to that in a minute. So far, which could give the Arrowverse a few more years on the air. Either way, audiences everywhere continue to worry for the Arrowverse as their favourite characters await any renewal news. I've noticed since Crisis on Infinite Earths that slowly, Arrowverse is dying. More shows are going. It doesn't have the relevance it did. One of the big things that critics were saying about Arrowverse after Crisis, that it had a more kind of, I don't know how to say it, a more connected, successful universe than the DCEU. They had succeeded to do, under the tutelage of Greg Berlanti, better than the DCEU did, with its tone and how, diehard DC fans were embracing it. And so it's tragic to see that it's slowly dying a death. And I sniffed this a few years back after Crisis, and people were saying to me, no, you don't know what you're talking about, it's the pandemic. But I think they were using the pandemic to slowly kill the franchise off. And I think this is directly to do with the DCEU multiverse strategy from Walter Hamada. I think some of these characters will move over to the DCEU film universe. Some of them will have their own shows on HBO Max. And I think this is where we're going now. Now, Superman and Lois, he talks about Superman and Lois there, which is interesting because Todd Helbing, the showrunner, has tried everything to divorce that show away from Arrowverse. I mean, we've had a couple of crossovers. We had Diggle last year. We had Lois's sister this year, played by the same actress. But clearly, they're trying to be a standalone show. And that kind of gave me the heads up that Arrowverse is slowly dying. Elements of these Arrowverse characters and some of these shows will be around for a little bit longer. But it's clear to me the CW is being sold. Warner Discovery, when they begin, don't want anything to do with the CW and just want to sell it. So DC shows won't be on that anymore. So anything from Arrowverse they want to keep will go over on HBO Max. I will be keeping you posted on this very interesting situation as it develops. The Batman Penguin spin-off show writer confirms showrunner role. Wow. The Batman Penguin spin-off is on the roll. It's being developed and they now have a showrunner. The Batman's Penguin spin-off show writer Lauren LaFranc confirms her showrunner role on the in-development DC Comics series. Farrell stars in Matt Reeves' superhero epic as Oswald Cobblepot, currently the operator for the Iceberg Lounge in Gotham City, and the chief lieutenant to Carmine Falcone. The Batman's version of the iconic character has yet to become the crime kingpin from the comics and is rarely referred to as the Penguin. With the Batman being developed to establish a new shared universe separate from the DC Extended Universe, a number of follow-up projects were announced in the lead-up to the film's release. One such spin-off was that of Penguin-focused HBO Max series, with Farrell reprising his role for his latest major TV project after True Detective Season 2, and the North Walter and Reeves attached to executive produce with Dylan Clark. And Farrell, while one the Batman spin-off has run into some problems in its development, it appears one is further on track. Gotham PD isn't happening. It's no problem. It's not happening. Arkham's replacing it. It will happen at some point. Nothing to worry about. On the heels of the film hitting theatres, new details for the Batman's Penguin spin-off show have been revealed. Lauren LaFranc, who was attached as a writer for the HBO Max series, has updated her Twitter bio to confirm her role as showrunner on the project. LaFranc was previously confirmed to be writing the pilot for the series when it was first announced in late 2021. Confirmation of LaFranc's role as the Batman's Penguin spin-off showrunner comes on the heels of Matt Reeves' reveal that the Arkham Asylum-based spin-off has been put on hold. No. You know what, Screen Rant? I try and do you a favour and read all your articles, right? You're all right. I like the site. But the Arkham Asylum show hasn't been put on hold. Gotham PD is not happening. That's on hold. Arkham Asylum is in development. Do I have to do your job for you? Base spin-off has been put on hold. No, given the latter's evolution from a Gotham City Police Department series into the horror-tinged Arkham story, it's understandable development on the project has been delayed until a proper vision has been determined for it. Additionally, with Reeves sure to get the call from Warner Brothers to begin developing the Batman 2 sometime in the near future, thanks to the first film's critical and commercial success, the filmmaker may be too busy to help oversee the Arkham series. What utter nonsense! You've literally said it's been delayed because you want to go down this tangent. It is interesting to note that Reeves recently revealed the Batman Penguin spin-off show was originally suggested by the filmmaker to the studio as a sequel movie, only for Warner Brothers to instead express interest in developing the idea as a show. Recent reports have also pointed towards the new series filming sometime soon, which makes LaFranc's confirmation as showrunner understandable, given the necessity to have a leading voice before production could truly begin. Audiences can catch up with Farrell's debut as the Penguin, with the Batman now in theatres. So let's get this straight. It was going to be Gotham PD, right? Let's just move away from the Penguin for a minute. Obviously, Warner Brothers and Discovery don't like the idea of this show. That's obvious, because Matt wanted to do this. And even the original showrunner, or the showrunner for this Gotham PD, said it's a shame, bad news. Hopefully Matt gets to make it one day. I want Matt to be able to express his vision. It's not that. I don't want DC to keep on being divisive and splitting audiences, and that show would have, for different reasons. So that's not happening. So now an Arkham show is in development. So obviously we're not going to get Arkham for a while, because they've only just started evolving it into Arkham. And Matt will have lots of time for Arkham. Matt will spread his time up. Matt knows what he's doing. It's his universe, just like Kevin Feige has time to be the president of Marvel Studios. Now, the Penguin has got Lauren LaFranc, a very good writer, and this is a great appointment. She's now been announced as the showrunner. This Penguin show, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I can't wait till we get more information on it. And of course, the only place to get that is from me, because I actually sit down and explain things properly, and we have a good chat about it. So I'm very excited about the developing universe of the Bat-Reeves-verse. Any Superman and Lois fans in the house? There's one here. Superman and Lois Season 2 photos show Clark imprisoned with his brother. Wow. The CW releases photos from the episode of Superman and Lois Season 2 titled Antihero, which feature Clark in a cell with his brother Tal-Rho by Jeff Heller of Screen Rant. The CW releases photos from Superman and Lois Season 2 Episode 7 titled Antihero, which show Clark and his brother in a cell together. Superman Tyler Hoechling's relationship with the DoD has been strained this season, to say the least. With the retirement of Lois's father, General Lane, Superman has found himself at odds with Lieutenant Anderson, Ian Bowen, whose biggest point of contention with Clark is that he will not prioritize the needs of the United States over the world. As a result, the DoD created several super people, most of whom tragically lost their lives in a very one-sided battle with Bizarro. Superman and Lois Season 2 Episode 6, titled Tried and True, ended with Superman being led into a trap by Anderson and taken into custody with the charge of treason. The new episode, directed by Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. star Lizzie Henstridge, love you Lizzie, congratulations on that gig, seems to pick up just after the not-so-surprising arrest of Superman. The CW also recently released a trailer for Antihero, which, in addition to showing Superman in prison with his brother, Tal-Rho, Adam Rayner, hints at them attempting to bust out of prison together. Wow, I haven't seen this. I'm very excited for it though. The new photo from the CW provide a closer look at Superman and Tal-Rho in the red kryptonite-infused yet quite cushy cell. Superman is also seen confronting Lieutenant Anderson through the glass and looking none too happy in a similar photo. Clark is chastising Jonathan, likely about his use of X-kryptonite to obtain his recently gained superpowers. Take a look at the images below. I don't know if you can see these images. They're pretty awesome. I think you can kind of see them. So then you've got Superman. We can see his cape there. We can see him with the cape. So very, very awesome. The synopsis for the episode mentions Superman begging Lieutenant Anderson to look into Ali at Alston, which could be what they're talking about in the photos. It also mentions that Jordan is still upset with Jonathan for not telling him about the X-kryptonite. Superman and Lois has done a nice job setting up the parallels in the relationships between Superman and Tal-Rho and Jonathan and Jordan. Yes, this is interesting, isn't it? Are we going that way? I think we were always going this way. One is the hero and one's the villain, but which one's which? They're trying to make out that Jonathan's going to be set up as this, but ultimately, could it be Jordan? They have reversed the roles. There is no Jordan in the comics. It's very fascinating. A great job by showrunner Todd Helbing. And it looks like that might be explored a bit more in Anti-Hero. It will be especially interesting to see Clark and his brother possibly team up for their escape. While it's unclear if they're successful at the attempt shown in the trailer, the images suggest Clark does make it out of the DOD by the end of the new Superman and Lois episode. He and Jonathan are clearly together in the Kent house and Clark looks relatively normal. He'll likely have some strong words for Jonathan when the time comes, just as Lois does in the episode trailer. Wow, wow, wow. This is one of the best takes of live-action Superman I've ever seen. Of course, it'll be different. You wouldn't be able to do this in a Superman movie. Superman movie is more challenging. We discussed this in my video, Hollywood Failed Superman. Check it out. But it's a fascinating show, and the more I hear about it, the more excited I am for it. It's such a success, and I think one of the secrets of the success is keeping it standalone, not keep on putting other Arrowverse characters in. Superman should have been the first character in DC to get an Arrowverse show. I always found that frustrating that we had Arrow, The Flash, Legends. Where's Superman? Eventually, he was introduced into Supergirl, but still, they were trying to uplift her so much and doing him down, and people could see through it. Now Berlanti realised that Superman needed to be there, with the other shows falling apart a bit and being, retired. So listen, all I can say is congratulations to Todd Helbing, who set up the Flash series for 2 seasons and was amazing until he left. But one thing I'll say, somebody make sure Todd doesn't go anywhere. Well, when I do my lives, you lot, and even I said it, you lot were suggesting that the mayor's kid or whoever that kid was at the murder scene and at the funeral who Batman kept on looking at and having empathy with, we were suggesting that could be Robin. Now, some of you were saying he's far too young. Anyway, Matt Reeves has responded to this theory. The Batman's best Robin theory debunked by director. Some fans have speculated that the Batman already revealed Robert Pattinson's future Robin, but director Matt Reeves says that isn't so, by Rachel Abernathy of Screen Rant. The Batman director Matt Reeves debunks a major Robin theory that's emerged from the film, but also admits is very clever. Released in theatres this past weekend, The Batman is DC's latest big screen adaptation of the iconic superhero. Robert Pattinson slipped on the cowl for this installment, which finds Bruce Wayne in his second year of being Batman. As he fights to rid Gotham City of crime, he becomes caught up in a mystery orchestrated by the Riddler, Paul Dano, who has been killing major public figures only one by one. Though not officially greenlit, it seems all but certain that the Batman will get a sequel. Fans are already lit with ideas about who the next movie could include, especially since the first film left some major threads dangling. A popular theory that has sprung up in the days since the Batman's release is that the Robin for Pattinson's Bruce has already arrived on screen. The Riddler's first victim, Mayor Don Mitchell, leaves behind a young son who keeps catching Bruce's eye because of how Bruce seems to instinctively care for the boy. Some fans have wondered if he's destined to be the Batman franchise's Robin. This is a film theory that has caught many people's attention, but evidently it wasn't anywhere on Reeves' own radar. Cinema Blend's Sean O'Connell questioned Reeves about the Robin theory in a recent interview, and Reeves was quick to say that wasn't the plan. However, he also then quick to regret that because he realised it was actually quite compelling, Reeves said. Interesting? No, but do you know what? It's a cool idea. It wasn't the intention, but actually, why would I say that? Why would I? Because it's a cool idea. And if I did it, then basically now I'm going to have to give you credit. Really funny, isn't it? It's been a while since a movie Batman had Robin by his side, and fans are very interested to see Pattinson's version of the character take on a young charge. Reeves recently responded to the question of it that Batman 2 could have a Robin, stating that he hasn't yet come up with the story for the sequel, so anything can happen. However, should Reeves ultimately decide to tell a Robin story in future installments, don't expect the future boy wonder to be the mayor's son, or if the young Mitchell does return to become Bruce's sidekick, a lot of fans will need royalties. The Batman has created a unique take on Bruce Wayne and his inner psyche, and it made for a fresh Caped Crusader movie. Going forward, as Bruce continues to grow and evolve, there are numerous possibilities for where things could go with a Robin involved. As seen with the mayor's son in the Batman, Bruce has a lot of sympathy for orphan boys like himself, and he soon might be more suited to taking on a partner. We'll just have to wait what Reeves comes up with for the inevitable sequel. So, wow. So it looks like that theory's been debunked. I think the better idea is that the guy at the beginning with the hoodlums, the one lad who seems to be there but doesn't really seem to want to do anyone any harm, and he seems to be having some anxiety, maybe he's Robin. Or maybe we haven't seen Robin yet. Do I think there's going to be a Robin in the sequel? Yes, I do. Robin may even get his own HBO Max show, because Matt Reeves has hinted there's multiple HBO Max The Batman spin-offs to come, but don't expect them yet until the Warner Discovery merger has been ratified and is official. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most, here on Movies TV Mad. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection, and I'll see you again in the next video. And we're going to call that video The State of the DCEU. Till then, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. See you again soon.